Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, it's the second of 4 days of my long weekend, and I'm going to do another outdoor project today. We're getting close now to me making a trip back to California to visit my family, to pick up some things I inherited from my father, and also to pick up and bring Flash back to Texas. That's going to happen in the next, hopefully, few weeks or so. And I've talked to my boss about it, and we're going to work out next week when it is I can do that, and when it'll be convenient to do that for, to get him to let me have the time off and all that stuff. So we're going to get that worked out, and I got to do some things to get this yard flash-proof, because Flash can dig. And I don't want her digging her way out of the yard. That's sort of, I think, how I came to be in possession of her in the first place. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but about 35 years ago, when I was getting ready to go to work one morning, and my mom was already in the car getting ready to go to do her job, she came in suddenly and said, "There's a tortoise out in the front yard." And I walked out there, and yeah, she was just walking down the sidewalk. And I think probably what happened is that she got out of somebody else's yard, probably dug her way out of the yard, and just took off down the street. She actually got away from my house a couple times in California when I left the gate open for a little while. And one time somebody stopped their car out in front of my house and said, "Hey, there's a tortoise out here." I said, "Well, that can only mean one thing. It's got to be my tortoise." So I went out there and picked her up, brought her back in. The other time, she actually got out of the house, went down to the end of the block, made a right, and went down to the end of a cul-de-sac and just kind of hung out in somebody else's yard. And I didn't even realize she was gone until the people who found her started putting signs up and trying to find out who owned her. And I said, "Well, how many tortoises could there be in the neighborhood?" And so I went and checked in on them, and it definitely was Flash. I started off by trying to find Flash myself. And I know her hiding places in the house in California. I couldn't find her anywhere, so I immediately called the number on the piece of paper that was up, and confirmed that they had Flash. And turns out they had a tortoise too, so Flash was just hanging out with another tortoise for a little while. That's how she got out a couple times at my place. But that was always just because I left the gate open. There was no real way for her to tunnel under the fence or do anything like that. But there are a lot of areas in this house where Flash could tunnel under the fence. And so I got to do something to make sure that she can't get out. You see, all the way along the perimeter here, I have the fence that goes down pretty close to the ground. Now, on the side of the yard here, it actually goes all the way down to the ground, so I don't think it'll be a problem here. Flash won't just naturally start digging at the fence line. She'll only dig if she sees light under the fence. And unfortunately, in the back of the yard, the fence doesn't go all the way down to the ground. There's actually a gap under there. And so this is an area that if she looks there and she can see under, she'll definitely try and dig under that. So I gotta figure out some way to basically block off that so she can't see that, so she won't attempt to dig under the fence. So I think what I'm gonna do, and I think maybe they might have even had like a dog here in the previous owners may have had a dog, because it looks like maybe the dog tried to tunnel under the fence a couple times too. So they put these paving stones right up next to the fence to keep the dog from doing that. Well, I'm going to do something similar, but I'm going to get some paving bricks and literally just run the entire length of this fence in the backyard here. It runs along the back here, and this is where the only real problem is. This is the side now again, and once again the fence goes all the way down to the dirt level. So if Flash can't see under the fence, she won't try and dig under it. So that isn't going to be a problem there. But I'm also going to have to do something about this gate here, because she'll definitely be able to see under that, and she'll try and get under there and dig her way out if she can. And there's also a gate over here on the other side that I'm going to have to do something similar with. Yeah, see, this is that other gate I was talking to you about, and see, this is obviously an area where their pet attempted to dig under the fence here too. So I don't want to put bricks here because I open this gate and I drive the mower through here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the paving bricks in here at, at the level of the bottom of the gate there, so that I can drive over it with a lawnmower and open the gate, but it won't allow Flash to get out. And we'll have to do something about that. There's also a little bit of a hole back here, and I'll probably put a paving stone back here too. Now, while I was over at Home Depot yesterday picking up those tomato spikes, I kind of already had in my mind that I was going to do this today, and so I kind of looked around and got an idea of what I want to do, the kind of stones I want to get that I'm going to put here, and I kind of priced them out, so I know what it's going to do, what I'm going to need to do the task. And so I'm just going to go over to Home Depot now and pick up those stones. Now, one of the things I had to do, and I did that, this is something I've kind of wanted to do for a while. I wanted to get an idea what the size of my property is. When I bought the house, I was told it was a little bit more than 0.3 acres. And so I actually measured it out, and the property dimensions, it's 100 feet along the back wall and 140 feet from the back wall to the front of the property. So that also gives me an idea of, how many of these bricks I'm going to need to get. So since I have about 100 feet to run, minus this little area here with the planter, I think I'm going to get about 90 of the bricks, which are about 12 inches long. And that should run the whole length of the yard and take care of things real nicely. So let's go to Home Depot. Now, one other thing I need to consider here, and this is based on some advice I got from a friend of mine in California who's a biology teacher and who has babysat Flash on a couple of occasions. Flash is going to need, since Flash is cold-blooded, she kind of depends on her surroundings to keep her body warm. That's why she hibernates. When it gets too cold, her body kind of slows down and she goes into hibernation mode. But the other end is she's got to be able to get out of the heat if it's too hot. And when it's 95-degree days here, she's going to need some sort of a place as a refuge from the heat. So since I've got a lot of stone material around here, I think I'm going to build her a little stone cave, for lack of a better term, someplace that'll be out of the sun, so it won't get a lot of sun on it, and it's a place that she'll be able to take refuge when it gets too hot. So I'm also going to consider doing that today. And the jalapeno peppers and habanero peppers are looking pretty good. The tomatoes are still a little on the sketchy side, but I don't know, maybe a few of them look like they're going to survive. So like I said, we're going to give this a week or so to see what happens, and we'll make a decision maybe next weekend on whether these are going to survive or not. Alright, so I'm back from the first trip to Home Depot. I needed 90 of these things, and I didn't want to put 90 of them in the car at once, so I brought about half of them home at this point. Actually, they didn't have any more on the shelves either, but they said they had some in inventory, so I kind of cleaned them out for now and told them I'd be back for more later, and they said they'd have them down for me. So this is kind of what I have in mind here. Ultimately, I want to chop off the end of these stones so they'll fit flush with the wall, but this is what I want to do, just all the way along the wall here. And that's going to cover up the hole. It'll also provide a barrier that'll keep kind of Flash in the area, because she won't be able to move those out of the way. She won't be able to see under them, so there won't be any incentive to dig under them. But like I said, I ran out partway through, so we're going to have to go back and make another trip. So that's sort of what I have in mind, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. One of the nice things I was a little bit concerned about was that there's sprinkler heads along the back wall here, and fortunately the bricks aren't interfering with those. They're staying away from the sprinkler head, so that's a good thing. Actually, I was just kind of looking over here, and hopefully that head won't be a problem, but we'll try and figure that out. We'll make that work. So let's go back to Home Depot and get another load. Alright, so I'm back from Home Depot. I got the additional stones, and I've run the entire length of the wall now. You'll notice that in some of the cases the stones are sticking out a little bit. So the next step I need to do is trim the stones so that they'll fit nice and snug within the between the poles. In this case, there was when I got down to about here, they had a bunch of these stone pieces in the actually on the ground. So I pulled those out, kind of leveled it off with a little fill dirt I had in the yard, and then put the the paving stones down in their place. So I think this is going to look good, but like I said, I got a little bit more work to do now because I want to trim all the stones so that they fit perfectly and they aren't sticking out like this. This will also create kind of a nice boundary when I'm mowing, because now I can just kind of really go along here with the weed whacker, knock everything down right along the edge of this, and it'll be a nice smooth line to mow down. So that's going to be kind of an added and fringe benefit that comes from that. So that's the next step. Let's do that. I've also been thinking a little bit about what I want to do for Flash's cave, because I want to make sure that, you know, it's, like I said, a nice place that'll provide her kind of a refuge from the heat if she needs it, and it will be something that will stay cool in the summer, even if it's really hot out. And I was thinking, you know, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it out of cinder block, and then put maybe even some of these stones on top of it, and then bury it with dirt, and that will provide really excellent insulation, because then, you know, there'll be the insulation from the ground coming below and the insulation from the dirt over the top of it. And I think that'll be a really good thing. So I think that's kind of how I'm going to do that. So after I finish up this little section here, I think I'm going to maybe clean this corner up, because I think this is where her refuge is going to be. A few hours have passed by now, and I got all the stone pieces fit into place, and actually I think this is going to be pretty good. This is going to work really well. It should eliminate any incentive that Flash might have to try and dig under the fence, because at this point she's just going to come up against these stones and she won't see anything, and there won't be any incentive to try and dig under there. As I said before, I don't think Flash is going to have any reason to try and dig under this, because she never tried to dig under the house. She never tried to dig under the cinder block wall in the house in California. And the only place that she ever was obsessed with trying to get under was the metal gate that went into the backyard. And that was because there was like a little gap about an inch between the bottom of the gate and the ground. And I honestly think she figured, well, I can get my head under there. I can't figure out why I can't get the rest of me under there. I don't think she's even aware that she's got a shell. So it probably just doesn't dawn on her that she can't get under there. And so, you know, she'd sit there and she'd move back and forth and trying to figure out how to get under there. And she was really kind of miserable. So what I ended up doing ultimately is putting like a piece of wood in front of the gate so that she couldn't see light under there. And as long as she didn't see light under there, then she never tried to get under the gate anymore. And I think for the same reason that she won't have an issue here. So I think this part of the job is done. I'm going to come back, I think, tomorrow and spend a little bit more time working on those little sections of the gate, because we're kind of getting to the end of the day now, and I think I'm going to wrap this one up. So I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.